Hi everyone, myself Sampath Kumar. In this video, we are going to talk about Ind AS 116 leases. I have taken a question here. From this question, we will be trying to look it from the lessee's point of view as to how the general interest will be written, how the ROU asset will be recognized, how the calculations will be done, how the interest unwinding will be done. All those things we'll be seeing in this video. So let's start. First, I'll try to explain the question if it is not visible clearly to you. There is a person Y who is a lessor who is leasing out a property to X, so which means that X is a lessee here. Carrying amount is 1,36,000 in the books of Y, the lessor. So assuming that I am the Y, so in my books the value is carrying it at 1,36,000. The life is 5 years, so I am estimating that the life of the asset would be 5 years. Term is 3 years. So the difference between these two is the first life 5 years is the life of the asset which I'm expecting in the lessor's books of accounts. The term 3 years is signifying that when I'm entering into a lease contract with my lessee, I'm entering it for the 3 years. So when we are looking it from the lessee's point of view, we'll be considering 3 years here for our calculation purpose. Annual payments is 50,000 rupees. So payment will be made by the lessee to the lessor at the end of the financial year, that is 50,000 rupees, and the residual value is 50,000, again the same value. So the residual value here means that in my books of accounts I am carrying an asset at 1,36,000 which is having a residual value of 50,000, which means that I am expecting that when I sell my asset at the end of its useful life, I would be getting an amount of 50,000 rupees. That is a lessor's point of view. Guaranteed value is 30,000, which means that so when I am leasing out an asset to you, you will be using it for next 3 years. So I don't know at what condition you will be keeping that asset, what value I will be getting after selling this asset in the market. So I don't know, right? So I am taking a contractual obligation from my lessee saying that, sir, at the end of the 3rd year, I will be guaranteeing you a 30,000 rupees. So minimum amount I will be guaranteeing you is 30,000. So if at all, if the value of the asset becomes 0 after the 3 years, the lessee will be liable to me 30,000 rupees. Or in another way, it is valued at 33,000 rupees at the end of the useful life, which means I am the lessor, you are the lessee, I have given an asset to you, you use it for 3 years. At the end of the 3rd year, I am trying to sell it in the market and I am getting the amount of only 33,000 rupees, which means that when I initially entered into the contract, I thought my asset would fetch me 50,000 rupees, but eventually it was fetching only 33,000 rupees, which means that you have used the asset in a very wrong way, that I am not able to get the money that I thought I would be getting initially. So I am getting a loss of the residual value is 50,000 rupees, which I estimated that I would get, but eventually I ended up getting only 33,000 rupees, which means the difference of these two, 17,000 rupees, is a loss to me. So I am saying, hey lessee, hey X, because of your usage, I am getting a loss of 17,000. You promised me that you would bear a loss of 30,000. So it is not more than that. So you promised me 30,000 rupees, but I am saying I am getting a loss of only 17,000. You pay me 17,000 rupees. So you would be end up paying to me only 17,000 rupees, but not the guaranteeing amount of 30,000. That is a very important concept. Anyway, I will talk more while solving or while making the calculations. So I'll write somewhere here 50,000 minus 33,000. So that is a 17,000 is a loss which will be borne by X. So X will be making a payment of 17,000 rupees. Now we will try from this question all the concepts. When a lessee in the books of lessee, I am writing in the books of X. So when lessee is accounting, first thing that he should do is whether the contract is a lease as per this standard. So they have a question, they have a parameters that you should be having an exclusive right, or should be able to control, you should be able to divert. So all those concepts. Now assuming that all those conditions are filled in, now X will be recognizing it as a ROU asset. So when you are recognizing ROU asset, which means that you are putting a amount in the balance sheet. So you should also put a amount to the liability also, like one asset, one liability. So the ROU asset value will be equivalent to ROU liability, lease liability value. So lessee will be recognizing the ROU asset in the same value as he is recognizing it for the lease liability. Now coming to the question of what will be your ROU asset. So ROU asset, like I'm thinking from the lessee's point of view. Let's assume that we are lessee at this in this question, we are X. So we promise that we'll be making a payment of 50,000 rupees. So that is year number 1, year number 2, year number 3. So first year I'll be making a payment of 50,000 rupees, and second year I'll be making the same amount of 50,000 rupees. Third year I'll be making a payment of 50,000 rupees again. But on top of that, I'm guaranteeing a loss. In case if you incur a loss because of my usage, I'll be end up giving you maximum of 30,000 rupees. So that is my future possible liability. So in ROU asset, I will be recognizing that 30,000 rupees as well. So I'll be writing 30,000 rupees also as my liability, like the potential future payment to the lessor. So 30,000 rupees will be coming here, and the discounting rate, the rate implicit in the contract is 10% is given in the question, so we don't have to worry. So we have to discount it at 10%. The percentages 0 point something I will be looking from here and writing. We will not be wasting time in calculations, rather we will be spending time on the understanding the concept. So now coming to the rates, 0.909, 0.826, 0.751. So these are the 3 years. I no need to tell you how to get these rates. So now coming to the third guaranteeing value. So the guaranteeing value, the obligation might arise at the end of third year. So I should be taking the same rate as I have taken it for the third year. So 0.751. So now multiplying that will give me an amount of 45,454.55, 41,322.31, 37,565.74. Okay, so this calculation I am sure you will be able to do it, so no need to spend time and waste energy here. So total coming together 1,46,882, which is my ROU asset. So while I write my entry, while I am recognizing my initial recognition, I would say that my ROU asset is 1,46,882. For the same value, I should be recognizing a lease liability of 1,46,882. So now I need to show how that reconciliation will be done, how that balance will become zero at the end of the at the end of the year 3. So when you are recognizing a liability in your balance sheet, at some point of time that should be knocked off completely, because you are making a payment of 50,000 rupees every year, and then at the end again you are making some more payment, right? So that we will see it here. Don't underestimate this concept, because here we are not making the full guaranteed value, we are making a payment of only 17,000. So how that reconciliation will happen, that is also point to be noted. So I'll start from 0. The reason why I'm starting with the 0 is that we are making a payment at the end of the year 1. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, and then again 3 and 3. The reason also I'll tell you why I have written 3 times. So 0 May I will not make any payment, because just now I have taken a lease. So first entry will be ROU asset debit to lease liability. So now I will not be paying any payment, right? I will be making the payment at the end of the year. So my principal, whatever the ROU asset, that will continue to be same at the end of the year 1. Okay, if you skip this 0 also, it's fine, but you should be careful that will not be writing the interest at the beginning of the year. So coming to the year 1, first I'll make a payment of 50,000. Second year I'll make a payment of 50,000. Third year I'll make a payment of 50,000. And the third year again I'll make a payment of 17,000. As I said, the lessor is incurring a loss of 17,000, which will be borne to some extent by the lessee. So lessee has promised 30,000, up to 30,000 he'll bear the loss, but now since the loss is lesser than 30,000, he will be making the payment of 17,000 only here. For this interest, what will be the interest? 1,46,882 is the interest. So from that you take 10%, 14,688.2. So that will be the interest. Now reduce payment 50,000, reduce this interest from your payment. So you will be getting what is the principal portion that we paid to the lessor, that you deduct it from the outstanding. It's more like your intermediate concepts, but again I'll do it for one. 50,000 minus 14,688.2. So that is a principal portion we pay to the lessor, and that we will deduct it from the opening outstanding 146,882. So it is 137,193. Okay, I made a mistake. 50,000 minus 14,688.2. So that is the principal portion minus 146,882. So 1 lakh 11,570.2. So again second year interest will be 10% of this. So 11,157.2. So multiplied by 10% minus 50,000 minus 11,157.2. that was the principal portion we paid to the lessor, minus outstanding is 111,570.2. so it is 72,727. so 72,727.4. again 10% of that will be 7272.7. again that calculation you can do. So this will come to 30,000, right? So again 50,000 minus this much is the principal portion we pay to the lessor. That portion you deduct it from the outstanding principal portion at the beginning of the year. So you will get the outstanding at the end of the year. For this interest rate is not applicable. So 17,000 we pay to them. Remaining 13,000 is a profit for us. Sir, why are you saying it's a profit? The reason is, while calculating ROU, you thought that 30,000 you might end up paying. Out of 30,000 you ended up paying only 17,000, right? So remaining 13,000 you thought it would be an expenditure, but it proved to be not an expenditure. So that will be your profit, right? So you transfer it to P&L. So 30 minus 17, 13, sorry, 30 minus 17, 13, and here 13 minus 13, 0. So this way your lease liability have become 0. Try to understand here. While creating the lease liability, we have considered it from the ROU asset. While calculating the ROU asset, you have considered the 30,000 rupees guaranteed payment that you thought would be pending, you would be end up paying to the lessor. So while making the third year adjustment, while making the third year calculation, you are making a payment of only 17,000. So remaining 13,000 would be your profit. You transfer it to your P&L, right? So now this is your ROU asset, ROU liability, but that is not the end. The end will be that, like, how you write the entries, like how do you flow the entries on a year basis. So we have 3 years. So I'll be writing an entries. Right. So year number 1, let's wait for some time. So year number 1, the first entry will be ROU asset. So since the asset is coming to you in your books of accounts for the first time, I think it's very hard to see this. Year 1. So year 1 ROU asset first time coming into your books of accounts. So books of accounts. So ROU asset debit to lease liability. As I said at the inception, ROU asset, ROU liability will become same, should be same. Lease liability 1,46,882 1,46,882. So that is a entry for ROU asset. Narration and all I am not writing. So that is the first thing. Second, you need to unwind the interest, because this is an entry at the beginning of the year. When the moment you thought it is a contract, it's a lease, then you wrote this entry, but at the end of the year there's a interest is accruing, right? So that is like unwinding. So interest is 14,688. So interest account debit to lease liability. So why are you transferring it to lease liability? Because while you created the lease liability, you have discounted everything. So which is not without discount. The value that you are arriving is without discount. But while making the payment to that lessor, you will be making the payment including interest, right? So there is nothing called interest and principal portion. It's only for us, our own calculation, what needs to be hit to your P&L, what needs to hit your balance sheet, or how you will show in your cash flow statement. But otherwise, this is a interest that will unwind it to lease liability. The portion is 14,688.2. 14,688.2. So this is an interest unwinding, and then you will make the payment to him. How much payment you will make? 50,000 rupees. So that will be lease liability. The moment you make the payment, the lease liability will come down, because you are making the payment to the lessor. To bank, how much you are making? 50,000 rupees. This is a entry for the payment made to the lessor. But again, there is a depreciation concept also, because you are treating it as an asset, so you need to amortize it. So divided by 3. So 1,46,882 divided by 3 will give you the depreciation for that particular year. 146,882 divided by 3. So 48,961, that will be the depreciation. So ROU asset is value is coming down. So ROU asset you are credited, you are debited because it is an asset. The moment the value is coming down, you will credit it. Depreciation you will debit here. Eventually that will be transferred to P&L. That entry we need not write it. But ROU asset you can credit. The value is 48,961. 48,961. So these are the entries for the year number 1. But coming to the year number 2, I will not be writing all the entries, but I will just giving you the hint of how you will remember or how you will keep the track of it. So year number 2, this ROU asset entry is not required, because you will not be recognizing the ROU asset on a year-on-year basis. Once you recognize it at the inception, that is sufficient, right? Which means that you will not be writing the first entry here. So if I am saying that entry number 1, entry number 2, entry number 3, entry number 4, one entry is not required. Not required. Entry number 2, interest portion is required. First year interest portion is 14,688. Second year is 11,157. So this entry you will write it in the second year, but for the second year interest. Third entry is for the lease liability. Are we making the payment in the second year? Yes, we are making the payment. So third entry will also be coming. You need to write it in the examination if it comes. In practice also you need to come. So this is the third entry. Coming to the fourth entry, depreciation entry, that entry also will be required and the amount will be same. So this is an entry for year number 2. Coming to the year number 3, so little complexity is there. So in year number 3, there's one more thing. Will the first entry will come? Will this entry ROU asset or lease liability will not come? Only once you recognize it. So no entry for the entry number 1, general entry number 1. 2, interest. Does interest accrue in the year number 3? Yes, this will be the entry. So you will write this entry. And coming to the entry number 3, lease liability bank, the 50,000. Are we making the payment in the third year? Yes. So same entry you will continue in the third year as well. Okay. And then depreciation entry. Does depreciation entry will come? Yes, that will also come. So 4 will also become. But on top of that, you will have few additional entries, that is for your guaranteed payment. So what is a guaranteed payment? Guaranteed payment we are making 17,000, right? So what we will do, lease liability is coming down. How much it is coming down? 30,000 value is coming down. See 50,000 K once we have debited lease liability, 50,000 one more time we will debit. Third time we will debit 50,000. What about this 30,000? That also we will debit. So lease liability 30,000 debit to how much we are making to the lessor? 17,000. So remaining 13,000 is our profit. So we'll transfer it to P&L 13,000. You can say this is your balancing figure. So that's how you will write the interest in the books of the lessee. I hope this video is useful to you, and if you feel that this video is useful to you, please let me know in the comment section, and also let me know if you think that there is any other topic that you would like me to explain, or not talk more on this, like explaining the entries or the concepts or anything of that sort. I'll be happy to make videos on those topics. Thanks for watching. Have a nice day.